Welcome to the game of the year thus far, with favorable seeding in the LEC tournament on the line, and with a crazy close field jostling for position. UMass Boston faces perhaps their toughest conference challenge yet. First placed Western Connecticut State. Live from James Cotter Field in Boston, Massachusetts, my name is Milton Posner, and you are watching UMass Boston's men's soccer on the LEC network. It's a game dripping with playoff consequences, and we will get to that in a little bit in greater depth. But just to kick off with, this is the rematch of the 2019 LEC quarterfinals. It went the distance, 2 45-minute halves, 2 10-minute overtimes, completely scoreless, goes to PKs. Western Connecticut moves on over UMass Boston. But these are two teams that both had more success. 2019 was the only year either one of them hasn't won in the last 6 years. UMass Boston taking the conference crown and the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament that comes along with it in 2014, 15, and 16. WestConn taking it in 2017 and 2018. These are the two top offenses in the Little East Conference, and in many ways they are comparable. Western Connecticut averaging 2.82 goals per game. UMass Boston just 0.03 of a goal behind them in second place. It's a very close gap between these teams. UMass Boston with a slightly bigger gap in goals allowed per game. They're averaging just 0.7 goals allowed to Western Connecticut's 0.9, but even still, they're right up with each other. Western Connecticut is going to have a little bit more of an aggressive style. They do take more shots. They're first in the conference in shots per game at almost 21 a contest. UMass Boston lagging a little bit behind in third, and Western Connecticut has a similar advantage in shots on goal per game. But this is going to be a high-octane game with a couple of really good offenses here. We're going to get you to the highlights from the last time these teams played the last regular season game between these programs. It was a 1-1 tie on November 2nd, 2019, and then we'll preview a little bit more of this one before it gets going.
Nice on paper doesn't mean you'll necessarily win. This ball's hit far side. Jericho with his shot and into the net for goal. Number one of the night. Pass intercepted. That's Ferreira. Ferreira now bringing it across the center line. Big pass here to Castaneda. Castaneda centers it. Shot on net. For Jericho. It's now a 2-0 lead for UMass Boston. I think Joseph still overtime. Santos was trying to cross it. He does it again. Brad still up for Brad. It's the box. Doing what he does best, and that's overtaking this one. Shot sails wide. Saved there by Waterhouse. And it's now 4-0 UMass Boston. The lady who kicked it in, he gets a nice hug from the rest of the team. Another opportunity for UMass Boston. This one shot wide. Coming against Western Connecticut. This shot is on net.
As they announce the starting lineups, we're going to go to our players to watch. On the UMass Boston side, That's going to be Christian Suvak, the 5'9" midfielder / forward. He's a senior out of Winchester, Mass. And he's a guy who's played any number of roles for this UMass Boston team over the season. He's a Division I transfer along with Cam Pattison and Shane Mullaney. He's got great confidence, excellent touch on the ball. He will sometimes drop back and play as a center back when they have the ball because he's that smart with it and that smooth. He was with UConn when they made the NCAA tournament. He played at Sacred Heart. He actually got more playing time than he did at UConn. And now here he is for UMass Boston, giving them a lot of added depth and versatility. On the WestConn side, it's going to be Kent Enarino, a guy who stacks right up there with UMass Boston's Nilton DeAndrade in terms of offense. He has scored 8 goals, and 10 assists on the season. He's been leading the way for them. Second on the team in goals, has more assists than his next few teammates put together. This would be the 5'7" sophomore midfielder out of Brookfield, Connecticut. He has been making waves this season, and he'll be one to watch out for, wearing number 7 in blue as we go forward in this one. Now on to the starting lineups. First for Western Connecticut. We mentioned Ken Enarino. Another couple of guys to look out for are the other top 2 goal scorers. That would be Franz Muhai and Matthew Restrepo, 11 and 7 goals respectively for those two. You look up and down the rankings here, the goals leaderboard in the Little East Conference. You've got Nilton DeAndrade, the UMass Boston midfielder / forward, with 16 of them on the year. That's 1 point. That's an average of more than a goal per game. And then the next 4 guys, Muhai, Enarino, and Restrepo, as we mentioned, and Lorenzo Loria, who you can expect to see off the bench, stack up in the 2 through 5 spots for Western Connecticut. Western Connecticut's also got Jordan DaCosta joining them in the top 10. So a very balanced, potent attack here for WestConn. For UMass Boston, so we get a look at their starting lineup. We can see a lot of familiar faces, a little bit more of a balanced attack as opposed to a potent top line, led by Nilton DeAndrade, who, as we mentioned, leads the way with 16 goals in the Little East Conference. He is knocking on the door of the program records, or at least second place, in a couple of categories. We can get into that a little bit more while we have time. He's got 40 points on the season. 41 would move him into third place, a third-place tie with Okane Williamson and Jose Chavez. 43 would move him into a tie with second place, both of them still reachable. The 60 points that Charlie Keskinaitis put up in 1989 would appear to be untouchable for DeAndrade and, quite frankly, for the foreseeable future, especially with the way the schedules are arranged nowadays. DeAndrade's 16 goals are tied for 4th. Another one would put him into a third-place tie with Mohamed Kanawi. 18 would put him into a tie with second place with Williamson, and again, Keskinaitis out of reach. The 8 assists are tied for 6th place, but 1 more assist puts him into the 3rd-place tie, 2 more into the 1st-place tie, 3 more on the record is his, and that one seems to be the most attainable in terms of getting to the top of the leaderboard. I'm going to step aside for just a quick moment. We're going to send you to a Beacon Spotlight about senior back Leo Herrera and his artistic skills, and we are going to be right back with the opening kickoff from James Cotter Field. Stick around.
I knew I was into drawing when I was probably in 1st grade. I saw my sister's friends draw, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I started drawing stick figures in class, and then it was progressing into something like more advanced, people, buildings, stuff like that, cars. And then I stopped because I got a little bit impatient while doing it, and I would get made fun of. So I stopped completely. During COVID, I had so much time. I mean, there was no season for UMass. I was playing on another team, but we wouldn't practice as much. I was not going to school. So I had a lot of free time, and I was like, I might as well pick up drawing again. And then I started drawing things I would like see on TV and stuff like that. So it was really a blessing now because I am really into it, and I sell some of my art on Instagram, and I see TikToks, and there's like a lot of things that inspire me to start drawing. Drawing helped my mental health because I was just more relaxed in a way. I had more free time to do.
Rosardi cut that one short, but they've taken the field a little bit quicker than expected, and we're about to get going here. It's UMass Boston and Western Connecticut State in a game dripping with playoff implications. We will get to those in a moment because the standings are all over the place right now. They're very tightly packed, and we can see here a very aggressive defensive strategy right out of the gate from WestConn. When they take the ball going down the sideline, out of bounds there, Afa Reyes, the senior midfielder, trying to handle it and running out of room amidst a thicket of white jerseys. Throwing ahead to Vangel Jergo. He swarmed immediately, and now UMass Boston playing not quite as aggressively up on the ball in the backfield as Western Connecticut, but making some pressure up on them here nonetheless. Back to goalie Daniel Szabo, who's going to eject it over toward the 35 line in the UMass Boston half. Oh, and dancing through, here comes WestConn. Fight for the ball, no whistle there. Cross comes in and popped away by a Melson Barboza. Center of that defensive line for the Beacons. Andrade scrapping for it. Nice bit of handling there, and WestConn coming out very, very aggressively. Putting their guys deep into the box already, ahead of the ball, and making their moves. DeAndrade with a nice feint there, and away he goes over the midline. Stripped there. Harrison Allers. Now it comes ahead here. Matthew Restrepo, who we mentioned earlier in the pregame, one of the top goal scorers for this WestConn squad. Now the cross inside, stopped there. Estavo Gomes not letting it get through. Ball comes all the way through to Szabo. Oh, a nice pass out there to the left wing. It's J.J. Devine starting in goal opposite Szabo. Increasingly, he's been splitting his time with a fellow junior, Qasim, not with a fellow junior, he's a freshman, with junior Qasim El Ashkar. As the ball trickles over the end line, it's going to go to, appears to be WestConn here, as actually they're going to call a free kick. It's Lucas Araujo to take it. Comes down the side now. Not sure if that was supposed to be a shot or a cross. It wasn't particularly close to being either. And the ball will come to J.J. Devine in goal. Once again, WestConn applying the pressure up front. And UMass Boston going to go long and ultimately give the ball right back, or will they? DeAndrade takes it. He's got Diego Guichol on the side. Guichol dispossessed, and the ball flips to the middle. John Santos. Now to Suvac, who we mentioned earlier, up to Vangel Jergo now on the through ball. Jergo leaves it off. Oh, a brilliant dancing move from Euron Texera. It's loose in the box. It's Cam Pattison now. Inside, and a sliding stop there by Szabo. So the first sustained UMass Boston attack of the day ends in Szabo's hands. 3.5 minutes in. Jergo feinting up to pressure, and it's going to be a deep pass into the far corner. Barboza jerks the ball about as high as the building behind him. And UMass Boston will take it now, trying to break out. Pass to Jergo is broken up. DeAndrade is there to collect, and now taken away by Kadeen Talo. Swung across now. Arajo. WestConn very assertive to start out. They are in first place, although as we'll mention in a second, who is in first place versus second versus even all the way down to fifth at this point depends on who's got a game in hand on whom. So the standing's a little bit misleading here, but when they're that tightly packed, suppose you'd expect nothing less. Barboza trying to seal off Franz Muhai, and will earn the ball for the Beacons as Devine takes it. Here is where the standings sit. WestConn with 15 points is in first, holding the tiebreaker over Rhode Island College, also with 15 points. Rhode Island College is in second. UMass Boston in third with 13 points. Eastern Connecticut with 12 in fourth. UMass Dartmouth, after a win today against Castleton, is in fifth place with 10 points, and Keene State with 8 points is in sixth. But all these teams have different numbers of games in hand on their opponents. As the ball comes into Zabo, way too far ahead for DeAndrade to corral it. And now the short roll. Western Connecticut has 2 points on UMass Boston, and they both have, after today, one conference game remaining. So UMass Boston controlling their own destiny, and with a win here, they can make good on that. Rhode Island College has 15 points, same as Western Connecticut, but they only have one conference game remaining. As Devine comes up and collides hard with Franz Muhai, both of them down. It looks like they may have smacked heads. This does not look good. Players from both teams waving the training staff over. Both of them looking in a bad way there. It was a pass up ahead. Muhai not willing to give an inch. Second place in the LEC in goals scored. J.J. Devine, the best save percentage in the conference. Neither one of them got that way by being timid. Especially Devine, who's upped his confidence, upped his decisiveness so much this season. And with neither of them backing down, fans silently watching here. Qasim El Ashkar on the sidelines, getting his gloves on, and it may be that neither one of these players continues. Clock stopped here at about 39 minutes. Everyone's gone quiet. El Ashkar warming up on the sidelines with a teammate. I'm going to take this opportunity to fill you in a little bit more on the playoff implications of this game. As we mentioned, it's a little bit tricky to see just where some of these teams land because, well, one, there are games ongoing right now. There's a couple of games that we'll update you on as this goes. For now, Eastern Connecticut leading Plymouth State 3-0 as they've just gotten going on their second half. Keene State is leading Southern Maine at the half behind a goal. The only goal of the game scored by Mbambi Mbugu. For Eastern Connecticut in their game against Plymouth, we're going to have goals from Toomey Will, from Angiamang Emmanuel, and from Trierweiler Jackson. As these games resolve, they're going to be resolved at about the halftime point of this one, and we will keep updating you on the results of that. It'll help the standings harden a little bit, and we'll have a clear sense of the playoff picture. And here is what's at stake. Little East Conference is a 9-team billing. 6 of them are going to make the tournament. Seeds 1 and 2 are the really prized ones, because those are the seeds that get you a bye for the first round. While the first and second seeds get a bye, the third seed and 6 seeds play on the 3 seeds home field. 4 and 5 play on the 4 seeds field. The winner of the 4-5 game plays the 1 seed. The winner of the 3-6 game plays the 2nd seed. So home field advantage notwithstanding, the real advantage here is getting that first round bye, increasing your championship odds a good amount by not making yourself play quite as often, fewer chances for you to be knocked out. And for 2 teams that have won extensively in the last few years, in WestConn and UMass Boston, they both know the implications of it. If there is a tie in points, the tiebreaker is head-to-head competition, where the Beacons are concerned. Today's result will determine whether they have the tiebreaker over WestConn. They hold the tiebreaker over Rhode Island College, currently in second place, but UMass Boston and WestConn each have a game in hand in them. EastConn, in fourth place, has 2 games in hand on Rhode Island. EastConn holds the tiebreaker over UMass Boston, and they're 1 point behind with a game in hand. Remember, 3 points for a win, 1 for a tie, 0 for a loss. UMass Boston is also tied with Keene State, who at the moment are putting themselves in excellent position to make good on the game in hand that they have. The only thing we can really say for certainty, and I really do mean this, because Keene State, who looks to be in 6th place right now, is still very much in the ballgame for first place, and certainly for one of the 2 bye spots. The only thing we know for certain is that the 3 teams that are in the bottom 3 spots right now will stay in those spots in one order or another, and will thus not make the tournament. That would be Castleton, Plymouth State, and Southern Maine. Southern Maine in particular, 0-6 on the year, and if they can't overcome the 1-0 deficit here against Keene State, they are going to stay in that spot. It's something of a consolation prize, I suppose, if you are thinking about maybe not the playoffs, but at least not having a winless season. But that is how the playoffs break down. So for UMass Boston, they are 2 points behind their opponent here today, each with 1 game left to play. So UMass Boston wins this game. They're up by a point and could guarantee a first place spot with a win against, so we want to double check, with a win against, they're playing Worcester and then Castleton, I believe, to end the season. Double check on that for you. Rhode Island College has got to win a game and then hope that the teams neighboring them in the standings don't fold. Indeed, it is Castleton. Still players receiving some medical attention. Muhai still there. JJ Devine looks to be on his feet, but still huddled up around Muhai. In a really unpleasant turn here, 6 minutes into a game that looked to be the marquee matchup of the regular season. Still is. Don't mean to imply that it's not. But a little bit of a damper on the proceedings. Is Devine now walking off under his own power, but with an ice pack, it would seem, being held to his head. Muhai, no ice pack, also walking off under his own power. I'm sorry, see the ice pack now. Just judging by the amount of time they were down, you would assume both of these players are done for the day. We don't have confirmation on that, but I'd be shocked if we saw either of them again. We've been paused here long enough for me to explain all the playoff implications to you, then it's unlikely we're going to see them again. Qasim El Ashkar takes Devine's spot in net for UMass Boston. He's been getting an increasingly large amount of playing time here as the season goes on. And away we go again. Ball's ejected out and kept in here by WestConn. John Santos says no to the drive. And now Texera. It's going to take a minute to collect themselves, but WestConn really not allowing UMass Boston to get their mojo in the backfield coming up to the midfield line. Here's Gustavo Gomes. Nilton DeAndrade tiptoeing on the sideline, getting it back to their defenders. We get a look at Leo Herrera for the first time. He has come on. He's joining Barboza on the back line, and Gustavo Gomes is Herrera. Pass ahead, it's Vangel Jergo. Sliding stop, he keeps the ball And as it goes over the line, it looks like the WestConn wanted it, but the ruling is a corner kick, the first of the game for either team. And UMass Boston leading the LEC in corner kicks at almost 8 per game. WestConn a couple of spots below them with 6 apiece. And it will be John Santos to take it. Brocktown, Mass native. Came to UMass Boston by way of conference rival UMass Dartmouth. Goes for a short roll, and no good. Kent Enarino trying to break out with it, but a couple of UMass Boston players catch up to him. Ultimately, it's Barboza. Herrera coming up high here. Tries to launch behind the D. Finds Guichol, and offsides, says the referee. Guichol playing a little bit too close for comfort. And WestConn takes it back. 37 minutes remaining in the first half. Still no score. 2 shots on goal for the Beacons. None for WestConn so far. Both shots on goal. Those are UMass's only shots are the shots on goal. One coming from Vengel Jergo in the early going. The other from Cam Pattison. Both of the WestConn shots coming from Harrison Allers. Or Allers, excuse me. You're on Texera now. Feinting all over the place. Now swinging left. He's got Guichol, but the pass is broken up. And through a thicket of players that were trying to cover Vengel Jergo in the middle. And now Enarino. Momentum stopped, but WestConn's going to have it at midfield. UMass Boston's had a little bit better luck than they did in the early going, but has had trouble making the easy connections that they've made against lesser teams. This is arguably the best team that they've played. They've got the same 15 points that Rhode Island College has got, and they got a game in hand on Rhode Island. WestConn coming in with as good a claim as any, the best claim even, to being the top team in the conference so far. Beacons looking to prove them wrong, sitting at 13 points, third place with a game in hand on the second place team. Rhode Island College is playing today, but it's a non-conference game, and so they will not have a chance to add to their points total until their final game. The question now just becomes who's got a competitive game and who's essentially being fed as cat food. Vangel Jergo and Paul Costa caught up with him. Guichol with a cross to the far side, and a great sliding stop there, breaking up the play. It's Mark Tricarico, the sophomore back out of Hopewell Junction, New York, who spoon feeds the ball to Zabo in goal, and WestConn takes it. A little more than 10 minutes gone by here. Glad you've joined us here, and thank you for watching on the LEC Network. My name is Milton Posner. It's a pleasure to bring this game to you. Second to last conference game of the season for UMass Boston. Third to last game overall, as they got a non-conference midweek game, as do a couple of other LEC teams. Keep themselves warm for the ones that matter most. Cross there, and a great stop. Looked to be Emelson Barboza, tightly sealing the left post in front of El Ashkar. Crossover move there. It's Herrera running into Guichol's space a little bit. Guichol on a takeaway there from Euron Texera by Caden Talho. Caden Talho taking it away but committing the foul. And now WestConn will take it back. Down the left sideline there is Enarino. Tripped up, no call. Ref says it's clean. And now we have a whistle on the play. Temper's running a little bit high here. It's natural after one of your players, as is the case for each team, is injured and has to walk off. You get a little bit more protective. Tension ratchets a little higher. WestConn takes it now. Lob inside. They find Cristiano Oliveira, but he's got a couple of defenders draped all over him and no going there. Vangel Jergo beaten to the header by Allers. And the pass swings wide. Flipped over the goal line and out of play now. It's been a day of festivities. It is senior day. The last home conference game. There are going to be 7 seniors who are not returning. And as well, in celebration to celebrate the end of Diversity and Inclusion Week here, the Beacons have a graciously provided pizza, which I highly recommend if you can make it out here. Back pass here to Euron Texera. He's got a couple of WestConn defenders draped over him. Speaking of diversity and inclusion, or at least something adjacent, been at this a few years, and usually when you're broadcasting games like this, you like to mix up the names, like to alternate UMass Boston and Beacons, get yourself some variety going. This is the first time I haven't been able to do it, because WestConn at the moment does not have themselves a mascot. They were, from about the mid-'70s onward, the Colonels, with Chuck the Colonel being their mascot. But in the middle of last year, deciding perhaps that it was a little bit prejudicial, a little bit culturally problematic, they've opted to have a student-led process to replace it. They're still in the middle of it. You give them some props for asking the big questions and trying to do what's right. And in the meantime, they'll just be WestConn. And they've been very good. Just lost 1 game in conference this season. Only thing separating them from UMass Boston in that respect is that they have 5 wins and no ties to UMass Boston's 4 wins and a tie. That tie to Keene State, coming a couple of weeks ago for UMass Boston, is really the blemish here, because UMass Boston came into this one having won 8 of 9 straight. That tie being the lone reason it's not a 9-game winning streak. But a 9-game unbeaten streak it is, a 31-6 combined goal margin in those games. And in fact, the 2-2 tie at Keene State is the only time during that stretch that they've allowed more than 1 goal. They've had a few shutouts to their name during that span. And they're knocking on the door here. There was a 10 straight wins reeled off by the 2015 team. There was a 13-game unbeaten streak the year after that. This is during Jake Beverlin's best years with a team. And so far this year has been on par with those years. But they're going to have to go through a difficult team here in WestConn to keep that going. Beverlin, as long as he's being brought up, got his 100th win on the Harvard campus in their last game. So it would be a 4-1 win over Eastern Nazarene College on Tuesday. Comes over 8 seasons for Beverlin. Noel Cotterell, who is the captain of the ship from 1986 to 2002, has 142 and is the only other coach in triple digits. But behind goals from Denilson Gonsalves, Logan Erickson Potter, Emelson Barboza, and of course from Nilton DeAndrade, they almost tripled the Lions in shots and ran away with that one. WestConn's a tougher team, and we've seen that in the first 15 minutes here as we come up on 29:44 to go. As Leo Herrera takes it away. Game's largely been played 18-18 in the last couple of minutes after some initial shots. Haven't had a shot on goal in more than 5 minutes. So Herrera takes it away. He's been very active in the backfield, up to DeAndrade, sealing his position against a couple of larger defenders. Great core strength there, great lower body strength as Matthew Restrepo comes crashing in. There's a through ball to Jergo, crosses into the middle, and ejected there. It was a great pass up ahead, but Jergo had to be just about perfect as Al-Ashkar comes out with a flying kick to the midfield line. But Jergo had to be just about perfect there to make anything happen. And the WestConn defense hustling back into position. "28 minutes and change to play. WestConn into the middle. Popped away there by John Santos, excuse me. And it'll go over the goal line to the left of El Ashkar and goal. Once again, WestConn hunting for easy opportunities off of turnovers near the UMass Boston 18. But the Beacons have tightened up the passing a little bit, and as I say that, they turn the ball over, and this could be trouble. It's Cristiano Oliveira surrounded by a couple of defenders, doesn't have that much help with him. He did have Matthew Restrepo on the opposite side of the box. Pass slid across here. Up to DeAndrade, but it's picked off here. They're going to call a foul as DeAndrade is taken out, and he's not getting up. Oh, and if losing the starting goalie wasn't bad enough, UMass Boston cannot afford to lose Nilton DeAndrade in a game like this. It was a pass that was maybe a little bit, was kicked perhaps a little bit short. DeAndrade did not see the defender coming up from behind him as he sits up now. He's right in front of the scorer's table there. And he gets up under his own power. He's walking a little bit gingerly here. Takes a sip of water. He looks like he's good to go. May have just gotten the wind knocked out of him. May have gotten bruised a bit. But it'll be UMass Boston with a free kick from the spot where DeAndrade was fouled. Launches a long pass there in the direction of Texera. Vangel Jergo, who's been absolutely all over the place. Finally having the year they wanted him to have. He tore a hip flexor in 2019, the last season they had. There's a foul called here. Finally having the season that they want. He scored 4 goals, added an assist onto that total that puts him second on the team. Or excuse me, 3 goals and an assist. That puts him tied for third on the team behind DeAndrade and Josh De Almeida. Guess your last name needs to start with a day to get any love around here in the goal column. A quick hit there taken by Afa Reyes. This game has become very physical very quickly. And what happened to Franz Muhai and J.J. Devine in the early going seems to have, I don't want to say become a trend. These have not been quite as bad. But players taking hits all over the place. Have not seen a card yet. And none of the plays appear to have any sort of dirty intent behind them. But nevertheless, these are two teams that understand the playoff implications of this game. And it's going to be a free kick here. It appears to be DeAndrade ready to take it. Could we see the first shot on goal in about 10 minutes of action here? DeAndrade rolls it in. Texera got a foot to it. And it squirts off toward the left corner. Just enough defensive pressure. And it'll be a throw-in just to the right side of the corner flag for UMass Boston. Comes back into the thrower, Guy Scholl. Chipped off to the side. Goalie ball. It'll go to Zabo. So a great chance, a direct field kick deep into the WestConn territory, but UMass Boston can't quite make something happen. It was an interesting way of approaching it. The same way approached that last corner kick, trying to slide it on the ground as opposed to a header. But no dice. Shots coming from Vangel Jergo and Cam Pattison, both on goal. Harrison Allers has both of them for WestConn. But nothing doing in the last little while. Just a lot of aggressive play here as DeAndrade fouls. Let's get a look at the back of the jersey. Who is that? That would be Kent Enarino. Between the two of them, they've got 27 goals this season. DeAndrade averaging more than a goal per game. And now it'll be a direct free kick from 30 yards out. WestConn doesn't seem to be using this to go well. Oh, and they do go deep into the box. It's a far side. Oh, and that was a header broken up by Texera. And the first shot on goal of the game for WestConn comes off the foot of Caden Talho, right into the clutches of El Ashkar in net. First shot on goal we've seen in almost 15 minutes. And WestConn's going to keep it in here. They want another. Oh, a beautiful back-footed pass. This could be trouble. Oh, and a gorgeous stop by El Ashkar. And it's in the back of the net. It's Kent Enarino on the rebound. And WestConn draws first blood. It all started with a brilliant back foot pass there from Cristiano Oliveira, the freshman. The first shot on goal was halted there, right off the shin. Almost going to the splits was El Ashkar. But he could not recover in time. There was no chance of him recovering in time. And you do not have to ask Kent Enarino twice on a play like that. That is his 12th goal of the season, trailing only Nilton DeAndrade of the Beacons. And UMass Boston's got some work to do now. A goal in hand and all the momentum for WestConn. And they're looking for another here. Ball safe, kept in bounds, and El Ashkar taking no chances with this one. He's grabbing it right to the chest. Quick look around the scoreboard as a reminder, UMass Dartmouth eliminating Castleton from the playoff hunt with a 3-2 win earlier today. With about 20 minutes left to play, Eastern Connecticut State is still holding on to that 3-0 lead against Plymouth State. And Keene State has added to their lead. As Herrera takes a shot here. They've added to the lead. It's Mbambi Mbungu who scored the second goal for Keene State. Put them up 2-0 with about 25 minutes to go. We are going to have our first yellow card of the game, it would seem. The referee going with a let-it-play mentality. A lot of the contact we've seen, incidental, accidental. Herrera's going to jog back to the midfield line. So we see our first yellow card. Or excuse me, the scoreboard had yet to update. It's headed away. The yellow card has been finally announced, going against Lucas Arajo of WestConn. Comes at about the halfway point of the first half. 23 minutes left to play here before the intermission. Now coming up here, DeAndrade down the sideline, poked away, going to stay with UMass Boston. Gustavo Gomes to take it. And the Beacons with a quick throw in here. Jericho trying to seal his man off. Pass up into no man's land there. It's recovered by the Beacons. John Santos, it squirts through to Guichol. They've still got it. Guichol, does he have the angle? Oh, and a gorgeous defensive play there, sealing it off. Beacons continuing with the pressure. Gustavo Gomes, and it's ejected out over the sideline. Mark Tricarico wanting to give his WestConn team a chance to set up. They've been in defensive scramble mode for the last 30-odd seconds. Over the head of DeAndrade here, and a diving play by Zabo. The ball came off one of his own teammates and trickled dangerously close to that left-hand post. Pass almost completely down the field here. Barboza giving chase for UMass Boston ahead of Kent Enarino. Gustavo Gomes now to take a throw-in. With WestConn looking to pressure, he's going to chuck it a good ways downfield. Header reduces the gains. Pass squirts through. Fight for the ball. It's taken by Matthew Restrepo. And now by UMass Boston. Nilton DeAndrade weaving through traffic. Gets the ball downfield looking for Jergo. Narrowly avoiding a foul there was George Cortez of WestConn. UMass Boston trying to get back to that momentum they had around, the 41 to 35 minute mark when they got a couple of good shots on goal. They had a corner kick or two to their name. But it's been all WestConn, at least for the most part, in the last 10 minutes. And they're looking for more. Kent Enarino, and he took a hit there. He's still down. He's just getting up now as the shot comes right into the stomach of Kasim Elashkar. Enarino walking a little bit. He's walking normally here, but he got the wind knocked out of him. He was pounding the turf for a minute. And you got to look at WestConn here. They are breaking up the passes that UMass Boston can take for granted against lesser teams. Speaks to a lot of things, all of which would conspire to put a team in first place. It speaks to the attentiveness, the aggressiveness, to the game plan, to the conditioning, to be able to apply the same kind of defensive energy that you would put on when you've got the ball. Denilson Gonçalves is going to join the festivities here. He has been excellent for this UMass Boston team. He's got 3 goals on the season, tied third on the team. Again, behind Nilton DeAndrade and Josh De Almeida. Vangel Jergo, as we mentioned, has 3 goals as well. Cam Pattison has 3 goals, and Melson Barboza on the back line has a couple. 39 goals for UMass Boston this season. Goals per game average is second in the conference, behind only the team that they're losing to 1-0 at the moment. Quick scoreboard update. Eastern Connecticut State still up 3-0 on Plymouth State with 15 minutes left to play. Keene State up on Southern Maine with 18 minutes to go. UMass Boston, the back line fielding it here, and now they got to deal with the pressure. The way WestConn is playing as they take the ball away from Texera, it's very aggressive. It will produce turnovers. It is vulnerable to the through ball. But so far it's mostly been Vangel Jergo up there. Now they've got Gonçalves playing up above there, behind where Jergo is. Perhaps part of a move by head coach Jake Beverland of the Beacons to be more aggressive, take advantage. They are not a team known for lobbing the deep balls and seeing what happens. They play a 3-5-2. They focus on possession, short passes, gradual advances, goals where multiple players touch the ball, especially when they're on this somewhat smaller home field. They are not about bombing the box. They are not about peppering the goal. They're not about repeated set pieces. They play it deep when they think it'll work. John Santos was the one Gonçalves replaced out on the field. They're deep enough to play most people 90 minutes, but increasingly Jake Beverland has been making use of some considerable roster depth. He's had to make use of his more reliable than most backup goalie in Kasim Elashkar, with J.J. Devine presumably done for the day, as is the top goal scorer on the opposite side, Franz Muhai. Sophomore has made some huge waves here. Muhai, I apologize, there was an error before. Muhai is the one with 11 goals. Kent Enarino, who scored earlier, that was his 9th goal of the season, which keeps him in sole possession of 3rd place behind Muhai and in front of his teammates Matthew Restrepo, Lorenzo Loria, and Jordan DaCosta. We have not seen Loria or DaCosta quite yet. Presumably we will see them. Now Leo Herrera. He's got Christian Suvak in the backfield. We have not called Suvak's name a ton. Fancy footwork on the side there. WestConn keeping possession in tight quarters. Passing a little triangle there. Keeping it on the sideline and now shifting to the center. UMass Boston's up with a pressure. Jergo sweeping toward the sideline now. He's got Diego Guichol with him, but WestConn breaks through. Oh, and the ball goes over the line. It's a throw in Guichol immediately to Herrera. Wasting no time. Oh, and a little bit of a loose handle from Suvak. He's dispossessed, and here's a chance for WestConn. Ball comes wide. Oh, and a great defensive play there from Herrera. Breaking up a pass to Jordan DaCosta, who's just come on. Couple of players taking a spill here as UMass Boston's got it in the midfield. DeAndrade, and that's a mistake of a pass there. He didn't really have the angle. With Cam Pattison blazing up the right wing, and DeAndrade tossed it behind him. That was Diego Guichol and Jordan DaCosta. Couple of forwards, a forward and a back taking a spill there around the midfield line as they came together. And Guichol will give way here. We're going to get our first look at Revan Rodriguez, a junior forward out of Brockton. A couple of guys on this team out of Brockton High School. Luis Spinola, who we have not yet seen, would be another. Jalen DeRosa, who has not quite joined the team just yet, out on the field. But Revan Rodriguez has shown us a thing or two over the course of this season. He's been involved in a lot of their best offense, even if the stat sheets don't always show it. Emelson Barboza now. He's got a man on the sideline. They just do keep it in. Gonsalves fighting for it. They're stripped, and he takes it right back. Fierce battle for the ball on the far sideline, and UMass Boston will keep it in their half of the field. Texera now moving over the 40-yard line. Revan Rodriguez gets his first touch on the left wing into Jergo. Pass trying to thread it into DeAndrade, but just a little bit too tight to squeeze it in. It should be a holding call. And no, it'll go UMass Boston's way. They're going to fault for contact before the hold. There's a bit of a discrepancy here. 32 is listed on the roster as Cristiano Oliveira. It's listed on the stat sheet as Lorenzo Loria. Not entirely sure which is which. Trying to see if I can figure this one out for you. Cristiano Oliveira has played 8 minutes so far this season. I'm going to go so far as to say the roster is the one who has this one's backwards. So that's Lorenzo Loria wearing number 32 in the dark blue. Long lob there is looking for Gonsalves, but Gonsalves has got 3 defenders closer than his nearest teammate. UMass Boston hasn't had a problem getting the ball deep, but they've had a much bigger problem figuring out what to do once they get it there. Throw in. Headed up. Texera. Ball's loose in the box. Gomes had it poked away while he was trying to turn around and fire. Gonsalves looking to the underside, but he has it taken away temporarily and flipped downfield. It'll stay just in bounds, and it comes all the way back to El Ashkar, moving a few yards out of the box. Pass up ahead. Jergo trying to flip it to Rodriguez, and they're going to call a foul here. It's going to go against Mark Tricarico. Can't believe it, but he did Charlie horse him just a little bit. Not intentionally, but a foul nonetheless. Christian Suvak, and they swing it wide. Gustavo Gomes faked a pass, now sliding through the middle to DeAndrade. DeAndrade still got it, weaving through traffic, flips it back, and Cam Pattison retreats to receive. Pattison with a cross. Oh, and a great stop by Szabo there. They had Gomes heading towards the to the right post. And Szabo, the 6'1" goalie, standing very tall to break up the cross. If that gets past him, he is at the mercy of Estavo Gomes. He's launched a deep ball in just about every goal kick he's had. They are playing aggressively, WestConn is. 11 minutes to go in the first half, and that aggressiveness has netted them a 1-0 advantage that they have held on to. UMass Boston has had 2 shots total. I feel like there's at least one that hasn't been counted on the score sheet here. But one way or the other, WestConn dominating the shots. 6 shots, 4 of them on goal to UMass Boston's 2 of 2. Leo Herrera now. He's been very steady in that backfield, helping them to launch these attacks. When he's taken down there, they rule it a clean tackle. Pass up to Jergo is broken up there by Costa. WestConn retains. WestConn advances. Fancy footwork, but he can't make it through Estavo Gomes. DeAndrade weaving through the midfield. And we've watched all season as DeAndrade just turns on the afterburners and beats people downfield. WestConn was one of the few teams that has enough speed, enough quickness, athleticism, and finesse to keep up with Nilton DeAndrade in the open field. And they've got the intelligence, the spacing, the aggressiveness to stop the dribble moves that have stumped the second-tier teams in the Little East Conference. And now a dangerous free kick from about 5 yards outside the penalty box. It will be Afa Reyes taking it. Most of his players lining up on along with the far post. He's got one body, Jordan DaCosta, a little bit closer to him. They go for the far post. Broken up temporarily, and a whistle blows there. May have been ruling that an offside as they broke just a little bit too quickly in their desire to notch a second goal on El Ashkar. Foul win against Revan Rodriguez, his first. And almost an own goal for UMass Boston. And a huge miscommunication there between Euron Texera and Qasim El Ashkar. It was ultimately a teammate coming in there and just trickling it over the end line. It's the sort of play you can barely afford against Castleton, let alone WestConn. And it's going to yield a corner kick here. The first of the game for WestConn. They lob it boxward, and El Ashkar snatches that one. Ball hit his fingertips and stuck there like he lathered them in maple syrup. And he was not about to let that one go. So a very dangerous miscommunication coming within about 6 inches of an own goal. And the Beacons now are going to try to rebound. 7:37 to play in the first half. And they're in sore need of going from disaster to triumph here. Start the second half on even footing with a team that has outplayed just about everyone there is to outplay in the Little East this year. UMass Boston tied Keene State a little while ago, a couple of games ago. That's the thing that's stopping them from having the same 5-1 conference record WestConn does. EastConn, as a matter of fact, was UMass Boston's only loss so far. It came, or only loss in conference, I should say. It came on September 18th, and they haven't lost a conference game since. There's a call here. Looks to be a foul on WestConn, and it'll give another free kick to a UMass Boston team that has not been lacking for them. Referee is making a point of tightening the screws a little bit here after a very physical opening few minutes. If you're just joining us, JJ Devine, the starting goalie for the Beacons, and Franz Muhai, the second leading goal scorer for WestConn, collided in the first few minutes of the game and have not played since. There have been a couple of other high contact plays here as the play comes into the box. It's Gonsalves going with a header, and it's tapped in on the rebound. It's a Melson Barboza with the equalizer. And the fans spring to life here. A minute removed from almost giving up an own goal. UMass Boston takes advantage of the free kick and turns the script on its head. For Barboza, his third goal of the season. The first two goals coming, one against Southern Maine on the 29th of September, the other one coming just a few days ago in a game against the Eastern Nazarene College Lions. The ball fell at his feet, and he wasn't about to miss his chance. It was a missed header from Gonsalves, and you win the 50-50 balls. That one's tapped ahead. Gonsalves giving chase. He's tripped up there by George Cortez. And this could be another very dangerous free kick. Players seeking some clarification from the referees, and now it will be perhaps DeAndrade to take it. And no, it's going to be Euron Texera. Beacon's lining up in the box. Excuse me, that's Gustavo Gomes to take the free kick. He lobs it in. Loose ball. And it's just poked off to the side there. It was backspinning like crazy on a WestConn attempt to eject the ball via header. Trickles to the sideline, and it's going to be the goalie's ball, Daniel Szabo. Gave up his first goal of the game a minute ago on a play that he really couldn't do a whole lot about, as it wound up being a shot from point-blank range for Emelson Barboza. Just the third shot on goal of the game goes down for UMass Boston. Rodriguez tried to split a couple of defenders and was stripped. Herrera with a nice job breaking up the pass. Leo Herrera has been absolutely everywhere. Sadly had to cut his Beacon spotlight short. Maybe we can play it for you at halftime, because he's absolutely earned us giving his artistic path the full weight of our airtime. You can always find these things on YouTube even if we can't get to it. They're announcing Gonsalves and Gustavo Gomes assisting on that goal from Barboza. And if they've breathed new life into a game with all kinds of playoff significance. Do a quick checkup here on the scoreboard. Eastern Connecticut triumphs over Plymouth State. They're going to update the scoreboard in just a minute, but we can do it for you right here. That's going to put Eastern Connecticut with 15 points into a three-way tie for first place with WestConn and Rhode Island College. They've got 2 games left, same as WestConn, same as UMass Boston, who trails 2 points behind that tie. UMass Boston in fourth place, dropped to fourth place for the moment. For Plymouth State, it means that their slim chances at a tournament berth are now over. Their last regular season game will be their last game, period. You're on Texera now to Vangel Jergo at the 20-yard line. Ball's still loose here, and now WestConn takes it. Keene State, with a 2-0 lead and only a few minutes left where they need to hold on to it, looks to beat Southern Maine. If they do, or assume that they do for the moment, that will put them over Dartmouth into 5th place. They've got a game in hand on Dartmouth. Southern Maine was the only team that started today out of tournament contention. So not much of a mystery about them. Lob comes into the middle of the box. Gonçalves with a straight-up header. Rodriguez tried to eject it, but kind of shanked the kick a little bit. And now they're going to have a much harder time. Taking it away is Tricarico. Pass comes inside. Alashkar dives in front of a couple of people. The ball's still loose. And he rolls it to his chest. And a couple of people going for it. One of them his teammate that made it a little bit more difficult. And so the favored teams winning the matchups earlier today, that would be UMass Dartmouth over Castleton, Eastern Connecticut State over Plymouth State, and barring some miracle comeback in the next 63 seconds, Keene State over Southern Maine. The three teams who started today in the non-tournament spots have all lost. The teams that are in that 6-team thicket competing for the first-round playoff byes have all taken care of business. And if UMass Boston wants to keep pace with them, they can't let that happen. It's Lorenzo Loria from distance. And a beauty into the right side of the net. 2-1 WestConn. For Lorenzo Loria. His 8th goal of the season. Puts him in a sole possession of 4th place. He moves in front of his teammate Matthew Restrepo. And the usual suspects, with Muhai out of the game, stepping up for WestConn. Caden Talho on the assist, says the helpful PA announcer. A minute 11 to play here. UMass Boston in a tough position to find the equalizer here, but let's see what they can do. It's up ahead to DeAndrade. Poke back and out of the jam. And now Estavo Gomes looking for and finding DeAndrade again. Playing a little two-man game. Oh, here's the afterburners from DeAndrade. Poked away, but earns his team excellent position on the throw-in. Hands off to Gomes. To Nilson Gonçalves running a little weave back there. Gonçalves taking a running start here. They're going to treat this as their big opportunity. Going to play it a little bit like a corner kick. They're going to crash the box. The throw-in's a little bit short. Gomes. And it's ejected away. UMass Boston's going to have maybe one more serious pass at this if they can get their passing in order. Herrera driving, and they got a problem now. They've only got one player back. Sprinting to cover is Barboza. Recovering nicely, and a big defensive play from a Melzen Barboza to stop the Tide. It's going to be a corner kick. They're going to launch in desperation, and it's chipped up into the air. They're going to say illegal pressure. It's not clear. Oh, and they're going to give a yellow card there. Herrera may have thought that was a free kick. They ruled it as a corner. It was a corner. They're going to give Herrera a yellow card here. So a misunderstanding, not so much unsportsmanlike conduct, yields the first Beacon yellow card of the game. There's 2 seconds left, and they're going to redo the corner kick. All UMass Boston's got to do is prevent some bend it like Beckham nonsense here, and they should be able to get out of this. It's going to have to be quick. It's going to have to be direct here for WestConn. They launch it in. No dice. That's the half. Coming to the curtain, it was another goal, this time from Lorenzo Loria after UMass Boston had found the equalizer. And that takes us to the intermission with a 2-1 WestConn lead. I'm going to step aside for a little bit. We're going to get you, there are going to be some halftime stats. The LEC scoreboard that you can see it, that's one's going to be updated. We're going to show you some volleyball highlights from the Tuesday game. What else is happening around the Harbor campus sporting scene. And who knows, maybe we'll get you the rest of that Leo Herrera Beacon Spotlight while we're at it. And then you can stick around for what promises to be an intensely exciting second half. You're watching UMass Boston Men's Soccer on LEC Network. Stick around. And did you miss me? Because I'm back. And we got about a minute and a half left to go before the second half kicks off here from James Cotter Field in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you for watching UMass Boston men's soccer on the LEC Network. My name is Milton Posner. It's been an absolute pleasure to bring you what has been an extremely exciting game here in the early going. WestConn taking an early lead behind a goal from Kent and Areno. UMass Boston finding the equalizer almost half an hour later on a goal off a loose ball from Emilson Barboza, and enjoying that one for only about 4 minutes or so before Lorenzo Loria put WestConn back on top. This is a game with a lot of playoff implications, as we mentioned before. If you're just joining us, two things. One, where were you at the start of the game? You have an explanation, and I want to hear it. Second, we have an update to the conference standings now that we have a better sense of who is where and who has a game in hand on whom. There is now a three-way tie atop the Little East Conference: Western Connecticut, Eastern Connecticut, and Rhode Island College. Western and Eastern Connecticut both have a game in hand on Rhode Island College. UMass Boston also has a game in hand on Rhode Island College. They sit 2 points behind in, I suppose, what is technically considered fourth place now. Keene State is at 11 points. UMass Dartmouth is at 10. Advantage of looking at it this way is those are the 6 playoff teams. Castleton, Plymouth State, and Southern Maine are all eliminated. And I'll just be, prayers up for Southern Maine to win at least one conference game before this season ends, because, they've lost 8 in a row. UMass Dartmouth at 10, Keene State at 11, UMass Boston at 13, and Rhode Island, Eastern, and Western Connecticut all at 15. Now, UMass Dartmouth has a game left. Rhode Island College has a game left. The other 4 teams I just mentioned have 2 games left, which for UMass Boston and WestConn includes the one that just got started for the second half. Rhode Island College is playing today, but it's a non-conference game, and so we're going to choose not to care about it quite as much for the sake of keeping everything in front of us and together and in one piece. Switch goals. You now got UMass Boston here in the white jerseys going to your right. WestConn shooting on the goal to the left of your screen, and they're going to be moving in that direction just about now on the throw-in. If UMass Boston loses this game, it's the last conference game of the day, then whether they rise up to fourth place, whether they rise up past fourth place, is entirely based on whether other teams lose. They can win their game next week and still not be assured of anything. If they win today, then they are going to be in fantastic position. They are going to be in sole possession of first place. They're going to have a 1-point lead over Rhode Island College and Western Connecticut with no games in hand on either one of them. They will be only a point ahead of Eastern Connecticut, and Eastern Connecticut has a game in hand on pretty much everybody. They're going to play a midweek game, it would seem. Eastern Connecticut's going to play Keene on not so much a midweek game, they're playing on Monday. The pass squirts through here. This is going to be a chance for UMass Boston to aim it closer to the football uprights than to the goal and Daniel Szabo, and it'll go to Szabo. So UMass Boston's going to next play Castleton, or next in conference, I suppose. They're going to play Castleton on Friday. That's going to be their last game, and then the other teams are going to finish up their conference play on Saturday, a week from today. You can catch the Castleton game, and for that matter, the midweek non-conference game. You can go to the UMass Boston Athletics website and find the men's soccer schedule. All the links are there. And here comes DeAndrade. Tries to go for a through ball, it would seem, but Gonsalves nowhere near it. And Gonsalves is going to force the goalie to pick up the ball. Once again, a quick reminder. Aside from home field advantage, the reason that you care about the seedings, if you're one of these teams, is that the first and second place teams at the end of the regular season get a bye for the first round of the LEC tournament. And with the LEC tournament being 1 short and 2 single elimination, any game you don't have to play is an absolute godsend, and is going to greatly increase your chances of making it to the championship. Also lets you get better rest, come to think of it. Barboza ejects that one in front of Mark Tricarico, but WestConn keeps possession in their half of the field. Or excuse me, I suppose I should say in the UMass Boston half of the field. DeAndrade pokes it ahead, and WestConn keeps it back. 3 minutes into the second half here, nothing doing so far. Sun setting over the tree line. The lights have come on. And WestConn keeps it in place right level with the goal line. Estavo Gomes tries to stop it. Here's the cross. Oh, and a dangerous play there. It got straight through to the left foot of the striker. That would be Matthew Restrepo. And he's kicking himself for what, in fairness to him, was a very difficult play to actually capitalize on. Leo Herrera dribbles it over the end line. He's calling for a... He's saying it went off the defender. He seemed sure of it, but the officials seem just as sure that it's going back to the WestConn side. DeAndrade's got a little bit of open space to work with. That's a sentence we haven't had much chance to say. DeAndrade rocketing through the defense and finally realizing just how surrounded he was. Goes for what seemed like a cross there, but will not stay in play for the hustling Josh DeAlmeida. DeAlmeida second to DeAndrade in goals. He's got 4 to DeAndrade's, 16. DeAndrade just far and away above everyone else. He's got a 5-goal lead on the next best player in the Little East Conference. This is a guy who got invited to FIFA's futsal camp, just missed making the roster. Oddly enough, making that roster would probably have meant he would have been out until, I'd say roughly a couple of weeks ago it would have been, depending on how far the team made it. The ball trickles through there. It got surprisingly skipped over the foot of DeAlmeida and into the clutches of Szabo. DeAndrade, we mentioned earlier, his 41 points. He's one shy. He's a point shy of tying for third all-time for single season in UMass Boston history. His 16 goals right now are tied for fourth, and his 8 assists are tied for sixth. An assist there moves him up 3 spots on the list because of the ties. The thicket of ties in these sort of statistics, other than 1989 Charlie Keskinidis, who, thanks in part to a 7-goal game that year, is so far and away on these lists that he may never be reached. Nilton DeAndrade now. Up to Revan Rodriguez on the sideline. Rodriguez with a cross. The ball's loose. Oh, and Texera fires wide. Furious with himself. He knows he had the chance and had the angle, tricky though it was. A rare mistake. A rare hole in the WestConn defense, and UMass Boston just misses taking advantage. DeAlmeida, Gonçalves, DeAndrade pressuring up. Pass threaded through to Afa Reyes. Reyes' pass broken up by Suvac. And now Suvac takes possession. UMass Boston playing aggressively, and it's been paying off in the last couple of minutes. 38-18 to go in the second half here. UMass Boston down 2-1 after the Lorenzo Loria goal with a couple of minutes remaining in the second half. In the first half. Put WestConn back on the lead foot. Elashkar trying to find Pattison, and a flying knee broken up there by Mark Tricarico. My apologies to Mark and his family. And DeAndrade once again turning the corner. DeAndrade in open space. DeAndrade to the box. Threads the pass through. Gonçalves! Oh! And a gorgeous stop from Szabo. Sends it wide. Nilton DeAndrade emerges from the halftime break looking just like the one-man wrecking crew we've become accustomed to. And a couple of very good chances he's created here. Here comes the corner. Batted out. Volley kick. One hops into Barboza, and it's ejected out toward Herrera at midfield. Ferreira's going to let it go over the line and seals his defender nicely. Teixeira and Herrera fighting on the sideline. Suvak dispossessed. And it's Talho flipping it back. And Areno scored the first goal of the game for WestConn back about an hour ago in real time. Launched in, Barboza disrupts the pass. Oh, and a nice little crossover move there by Teixeira. Up to Gonçalves. They got a chance to run. He's got De Almeida, but he never really got a good grip on that pass as he tried to send it ahead. Riven Rodriguez trying to keep it in on the sideline. And a foul here. Interesting that they didn't call, unless they're calling the foul on. No, it's a yellow card. That's why they didn't let it go with the. I was curious to see why they didn't let it go on the advantage, as Nilton DeAndrade appeared to have the easiest path to recovering that loose ball. And a red card here. That would be a second yellow card tossed to Lucas Araujo, it would seem. And UMass Boston's going to have a man advantage for the next 36 minutes. We've had 3, or now I suppose this makes it 4 yellow cards. Leo Herrera on the UMass Boston side for a misunderstanding that resulted in him interfering with a corner kick that he seemed to not realize was a corner kick. And then Araujo with a couple, Cortez with one on the WestConn side. And they're going to be playing down a man. DeAndrade now. It's loose in the middle. Barboza is stuffed. Comes out to Teixeira. Deke, the fire, he's stuffed. They keep it close. And a foul here going against, it would appear to be against Cortez. Is it a foul or a yellow card? Because Cortez has got to watch himself, just because he's got 1 yellow card already. And if he gets another, there could be an 11-on-9 scenario here that would put UMass Boston in great position for a comeback win. And there is a yellow card here. Who's it going against? There's a lot of hooting and hollering and mass confusion here. There's a WestConn player down. It was tricky to see what happened over there in the thicket. Looks to be one player maybe pushing another down. Can't quite tell who that is down on the field. He's wearing a WestConn jersey. If it was Cortez, they've got a problem. This appears to be going against the UMass Boston side. They're still waiting on announcement from the PA announcer or the scorer. But players from both teams have taken it upon themselves to have what appears to be an ice cream social with a referee here, just based on how long it's going on. And the official motioning to the table. It's a yellow card on UMass Boston. Exactly who it is, still not clear. It was a foul on Cortez, but not a yellow card, so Cortez stays in. The UMass Boston advantage remains at 11-10. We're still waiting for the foul. Is going to put a free kick about 2 yards outside the box. It was very nearly a penalty kick that would have given UMass Boston a superb chance to tie this one up. And it's going to be a free kick here for UMass Boston. Still waiting on word for the yellow card. It's not entirely clear. But to recap, Lucas Araujo goes to the bench after a second yellow card puts him in red card territory. UMass Boston now with a free kick here. Fires just high. It was Nilton DeAndrade who took it in front of Texera. And it's going to be a corner kick for the Beacons. Not sure who got a tip on that, but the officials felt it was touched on the way through. Here comes the corner. Headed away. Kept in now by Suvak. The yellow card was charged to Nilton DeAndrade, it would appear. Physical play after the whistle, as that ball is going to sail over the track and over toward the tennis courts. So the yellow card recap. Araujo is out on cards after his second yellow card of the game. George Cortez with one for the WestConn side. For UMass Boston, a yellow card to Leo Herrera for mistakenly interfering with a corner kick in a way that is not permitted. And then Nilton DeAndrade for the physical contact after the whistle. So a chippy game, and at times a confusing one. DeAndrade goes down on a hit there. Aparea's looking around like a kid who just got away with stealing some cookies out of the jar there. But one way or another, it's going to the Beacons. Barboza in front of the net. 34 minutes for UMass Boston to play with. Remember, they have the advantage here. 10 players on the field for WestConn to UMass Boston's 11 after the red card. And if you wanted to be primed for a dramatic comeback win with major playoff stakes, well, you're watching, aren't you? Get your friends. Tell them to come on in. This one's too much fun. And we got some subs to come in on the fun here. It's Vangel Jergo popping back in for Josh D'Almeida. We have another sub. It would appear to be John Santos, perhaps? Hard to see the number from here. I'll bring binoculars next time. Estavo Gomes is going to come in on the throw-in here. Bopped up in the air. Suvak fighting for it alongside Jordan DaCosta of WestConn. It dribbles over the sideline, and it is UMass Boston ball. The throw-in looking for DeAndrade, but it's headed away by the taller defender. Here comes DaCosta. Euron Texera immediately threw his hands up and tried to act innocent, but he came into the space of the offensive player just a little bit too much here. That offensive player would be Daniel Russo, it seems, who's just into the game. And some more conferencing with the official. Maybe they just like his company. Maybe that's what's happening here. Oh no, it appears to be Daniel Russo taken off the nope, the trainer just came out. A little bit back and forth here. So it will be a free kick. It looked for a minute as though Russo was grabbing his leg and walking toward the sideline, but he will stay in. UMass Boston takes control. It's been a while since WestConn mounted any kind of real challenge to Qasim El-Ashkar in net. 32-23 to play here in the second half. And you notice a little bit more of a lax defensive strategy here from WestConn than we saw. It may be playing a little bit more conservatively now that they're down a player. And playing 11 on 10 as a through ball goes a little bit too far through and will go to the goalie Daniel Szabo. It may also be a strategy shift. It could be that they're just a little bit tired after doing it so aggressively throughout the first half. So this may, the advantages coupled with everything you've seen, coupled with the man advantage, we'll see if UMass Boston gets more aggressive here. They started long bombing a little bit more as the first half came to a close. So far in the second half, they have reverted to their possession pass, short pass heavy style. And slipping through the defense is the WestConn player, Kent Enorino. And the official clarifying there, telling him you're a little bit too far upfield for that throw-in. Moving him back about 6-7 yards. The throw into the corner, it's a little bit too far out in front, but somehow recovering it as DaCosta nutmegs his defender. And doesn't get much from it, but a brilliant display of skill and strength there from Jordan DaCosta, who we have not called a ton in this one. Has not had a shot on goal yet, but a guy who has, when the day started at least, his 5 goals were ranking tied for 10th in the conference. And yet somehow just good enough for 5th on a stacked WestConn offense. Couple of throw-ins for WestConn here in a row. Slowly advance the ball downfield. DeAndrade stalking Mark Tricarico as he throws it in. Immediately crashes, and there's a long pass over to DaCosta. Brilliant find there, but not much coming of it as UMass Boston in an excellent defensive position. And now WestConn trying to chew it up. Instead, they lose possession of the ball. UMass Boston a little bit too tightly spaced here, but they finally break through, spread out, and push it forward. Under half an hour to play. Pass comes up ahead. Cam Pattison giving chase. Ejected out of bounds, and oh my goodness! Imani McPherson, what are you doing, sir? There are fans here. There are children at this game. Suvak takes the throw in from Gustavo Gomes. Beacons, in the name of their fans, who are apparently now under attack, are going to advance on this one and lose possession of the ball in the midfield. Sprinting up ahead, trying to go 1-on-4 is Harrison Allers, who had the first couple of shots in the game for WestConn. He's going to be dispossessed. UMass Boston coming the other way now. Allers takes it, handoff to Kent Enarino. He's dispossessed by Gustavo Gomes. Back and forth we go like a ball ricocheting through a pinball machine. Jergo to Gomes. He's dispossessed in the middle. What would have been a good scoring chance. It's going to roll through to Szabo. And the madness will stop for just a moment. Gustavo Gomes getting into it a little bit with Mark Tricarico in front of the goalie, Daniel Szabo. They're separated. Both teams probably anxious to avoid any more red cards, especially the team that's already lost a player on consecutive yellows. Lucas Arajo is going to see the bench permanently, and UMass Boston has so far not made good on the man advantage. They've had it for a little under 10 minutes. Consistent pressure, but nothing serious. DeAndrade goes down looking for it. Gonçalves pops down, and the ball's ejected. On the sidelines, it's Jordan DaCosta earning excellent field position on the throw-in. He's been moving his way down there, not unencumbered by any stretch of the imagination, but he's carved his way through the defense like a knife through soft butter at times, and has given his team the sort of attacking you need to remain an offensive threat with a man disadvantage. Going to set up shop on the sideline for a little bit, and it's going UMass Boston's way. Ball swung to the near side. It's Gustavo Gomes. He's got Pattison and goes there. Pattison, one of a couple of D1 transfers on this team. Shane Mullaney, another. Christian Suvak, who we featured in the pre-game, the third. Suvak coming by way of UConn and Sacred Heart. Guess the heart wasn't quite sacred enough, and so here he is. Leo Herrera coming out of the backfield. Texera, who's been all over the place so far in the second half. It's Vangel Jergo now. Into the middle, Gonçalves. Taken away there. Mark Tricarico has been an absolute defensive stud through the early going in the second half as we come up on the halfway point of the half. Leo Herrera now on the sideline, left to his own devices to retrieve it, and goes to Suvak in the middle. WestConn not even pressuring at all over the midfield line anymore. Going to sit back for a minute, catch their breath, and defend the real attack. Ball squirts through. Tricarico's got it, and they finally kick it out. There's been a little bit of defensive sloppiness from WestConn in spots here in the second half. UMass Boston has so far not taken big advantage. Just 2 shots on goal through the opening 19 minutes. and only one of them really promising. DeAndrade with a feint, and it'll trickle through. Szabo's going to field it off the foot. Feints a kick. Suvak comes to challenge, and Szabo picks it up. 25:50 to play. WestConn playing defensively at the moment. Long pass there made all the way to the almost to the penalty box, and no really serious effort made to retrieve it. They're pressuring in the backfield now. UMass Boston's going to take a chance and try to eject to Pattison. Headers it, but there's no one there. Gonçalves made a pass at it. Denilson Gonçalves has been very good at creating opportunities, sprinting up when WestConn thinks that there's no attack available. And to that end, even though he came on as a substitute, he's had a very good shot on goal. He had an assist on the Emelson Barboza goal, the lone goal of the game, coming with a few minutes left in the first half. He has contributed. But the Beacons with not quite enough offensive firepower so far. Let's see what they can do on this one. Comes in and broken up nicely. Mark Tricarico. He's got to take a bow if WestConn wins this game. Probably take a bow if they lose too at this point. He has been that good, that present, that aggressive, that insightful on where the pass are going here. There's a little bit of contact there after Szabo clutched the ball. The aggressiveness still very present from both teams. Szabo once again trying to kick the ball into the parking lot. Oh, and Henarino takes it away. He'll have a chance here. Taps it. Oh, and a great diving save by Qasim El-Ashkar. Afa Reyes had as good a shot as he could want. And El-Ashkar with a soft hands. Here comes Herrera. Tripped up from behind. Legal slide tackle, says the official. UMass Boston will keep it, but Herrera, ostensibly a defensive back, coming way up to make a charge at the ball, or at the goal, excuse me. Kent Enarino. There's an Enarino and a Tricarico, and I think they're doing it to confuse us. A couple players going to confer with the referee really quick. Probably just asking him what his favorite movie is. And he's telling them it's Shawshank Redemption, because of course it is. It's going to be a free kick from Mark Tricarico here, who would appear to have a completely blank stat line if you just looked at the box score. Box score would be lying to you. Paul Costa being helped up there by Harrison Allers. And we're going to have a substitution here. Cam Pattison is going to take a seat. Revan Rodriguez rejoins the fun. Junior forward out of Brockton. Guy who had an absolutely gorgeous assist to Nilton DeAndrade in the September 15th game. An absolutely gorgeous assist, a back heel pass to Nilton DeAndrade, sprinting up the left side for one of the goals of the season. Ball comes through. WestConn, other than that excellent chance on El-Ashkar, has not really done a whole lot offensively this half since Lucas Arajo went out of the game with his second yellow card. They have chosen to play defensively, to play it safe. Here's a pass ahead to Vangel Jergo. It's a little bit too far ahead, but he was offside. It's happened a couple of times to UMass Boston so far in this one. I don't believe it's happened once to WestConn. UMass Boston's got to get their attack together. You wonder if Jake Beverland's going to use any of his timeouts to try to adjust the game plan here. Pass downfield. Headed back. This could be a chance for Enarino. And it's stuffed by Estavo Gomes. A brilliant block. Enarino keeps it in. And the shot is broken up on its way through. Fantastic defense from the senior midfielder Estavo Gomes. And now with 22:02 to play, it's a 2-1 game still. No goals in the last 25 minutes of action. You're on Texera now, back to Herrera. Herrera, Texera, to Suvac in the backfield. UMass Boston taking their time. Couple of give and goes get him deep into the territory here, and Vangel Jergo now, they've got a decision to make. A miscommunication with Rodriguez, who's trying to chase it down. And goalie ball. You had Rodriguez trying to feint a little bit there and get back behind the defensive line, but on one of his retreat steps, that was when Jergo decided to slide him the ball. And no chance of accelerating past his defender after that. Daniel Villalba, the sophomore forward, pops into the game for WestConn. On the UMass Boston side, it's the graduate midfielder, or grad midfielder, I should say, John Santos. So fresh legs for both teams. If you're just joining us, it's a 2-1 game in favor of WestConn. WestConn opened the scoring with a goal from Kent Enarino. UMass Boston found the equalizer courtesy of Emelson Barboza on the assist from Gomes and Gonçalves. And then, just going into the second half, WestConn went back on top. Ball squirts through here, but it'll go all the way over the line and out of play. Under 20 minutes to play now. And still UMass Boston's offense looking a bit stagnant. This is a game that they really need to win. They're going to make the LEC tournament one way or the other. They have clinched. We know that now. And with the cellar dwellers continuing to dwell in the cellar in the earlier games today, Castleton, Plymouth State, and Southern Maine all falling to their respective opponents, it is the exact nature of their tournament berth that's going to make the difference for UMass Boston. They want an easy enough first-round opponent, and ideally, they don't have to play in the first round at all if they can secure one of these byes. But with the conference standings looking the way they are, this is going to be a tricky one for them if they lose. Ball goes over the sideline. It'll go WestConn's direction. Castleton is beatable. Castleton is their last conference opponent. And so if everyone else wins out, the only way UMass Boston secures a bye is if they win this game. So even apart from the skill test, the endurance test, the conditioning test, the strategy test, the mental toughness test they've got going here, they need to win this game for very practical reasons. Stavo Gomes swerving into the midfield. He's fouled right outside the box here by an absolutely stunned Amari McPherson. Ball is going to be placed about 5 yards outside the penalty box. Complaining that it was a foul off the ball. Someone is. But it's going to be a direct free kick that apparently the entire UMass Boston team looks like they're going to take together. And now they spread out. DeAndrade took the last one and fired it a little bit high. It yielded a corner kick, but not much else. This one a couple yards further back. It'll be it'll be Jergo. Svangel Jergo launches into a thicket of defenders. It's stuffed. In comes Gomes, and it's stuffed again. Exploding out of the crouch now is Caden Talho of WestConn, and Qasim El Ashkar with a gorgeous slide out to retrieve it. Coming right back the other way are the Beacons. Barboza, and in front of Suvac there, a miscommunication, just saved from going out of bounds by Rodriguez on the far side, but the misconnection sucks a little bit of the air out of the rush. WestConn will take it now. Rodriguez, Suvac, and UMass Boston's going to reset. 17-15 left to play. The Beacons still got plenty of time left, but they've got to mount something serious here. They've got to be creating their own opportunities. A foul called, and we're going the other way. A little bit too aggressive on the attack were the Beacons. $16:40 to play. Ball launched deep by the goalie Zabo, and it'll wind up in Qasim El Ashkar's hands. You know, I worked for a good few years at a summer camp where we would have a kind of a mix between soccer and handball with the little kids. And every now and then the counselors, who are really the only ones strong enough, would be trying to throw the ball from one goal into the other. Just chuck it. Goalie goal. And a lot of the times that seems what Daniel Zabo is doing, even though you know he's not. But he's just about every goal kick he's fired has gone to where the 20-yard marker is. And so far it hasn't really netted WestConn that many good shots at the goal. The ones that they've gotten have been gains they've made on the ground before firing. But Zabo likes to launch it deep. It's something we haven't seen a ton this season. Coming over to the middle now is Texera. He's got Gomes. Gomes got a little bit of space now. What's he going to do with it? Slides to Suvac. Suvac dispossessed. The ball's loose. WestConn had it for a moment. Battle of the 15s. Guichol's going to lose it to Talho. Jergo takes it back. On the rush. Thread it through to DeAndrade, but he threaded it just a bit too hard. And Zabo's got it. It's tough to blame him on chances like that. Those are tricky plays. But at some point, they're going to have to make one. Or hope that WestConn acts like they were about 15 minutes ago and starts giving them something defensively. But if WestConn holds, then UMass Boston is just going to have to step up their game up. 14-41. Beacons passing uncontested. Now moving it over the midfield line. Gomes trying for a little give and go with Texera. Dispossessed. It's Mark Tricarico. Trying to go through all by himself. Weaving through. Met by DeAndrade. By Barboza. They flip ahead to DeAndrade. Doesn't have the angle, but let's see what he can do. Squeezes through. Tries to fire the pass and earns himself a corner kick as Zabo made a sliding stop by the post. Another corner kick for UMass Boston. Their fifth of the game to WestConn's 2. Jogging over to take it is Diego Guichol, who would be the week he's had. I guess he's the one you want taking it. Had 2 assists against Eastern Nazarene College on Tuesday. Guichol lobs it in and broken up by the goalie Zabo. UMass Boston's going to have to figure out a way to break through. Lorenzo Loria in the match for WestConn. Leo Herrera runs back to fetch it for UMass Boston. Long pass in front of Texera, off the chest and now into the hands of Szabo. As much as UMass Boston needs a win for standings purposes, and as much as WestConn needs a win for standings purposes, WestConn could probably use a win for another reason. And to be honest with you, it's not a particularly pleasant one. So that one goes out near the corner. Yesterday afternoon, 3 members of the Western Connecticut State lacrosse team were in a traffic accident in Colchester. 2 of them, Jacob Chapman and Tyler Graham, are sadly no longer with us. And our thoughts and condolences go out to their families. Trey Massaro, an 18-year-old, was airlifted to Hartford Hospital with serious injuries. We wish him the best of health and hopefully a speedy recovery. The WestConn community, I mean, this is what's populating the news for them right now. This is what's on their minds. And if any of them are watching, we're with you in spirit. Bit of a dispute here over what the call was. The officials seemed to signal corner kick even though the ball went out of bounds on the sideline, about a yard or two on that side of the corner flag. Official clarifying it with the WestConn bench. Their head coach, Joe Mingachos. Throw in now for WestConn. Immediately broken up. Oh, and a hit there. We got a WestConn player down on the field. It's Kent Enorino. Didn't look to be intentional contact, but hard contact nonetheless. Enorino up and on his feet. Had a lot of big hits like those. Aside from that, what was appeared to be a retaliatory shove, nothing that has happened has been obviously intentional. But there's been a lot of contact, a lot of free kicks, and this one's going to come from right outside the penalty box. Very, very narrowly missed being a penalty kick here. Slides it on the ground, broken up nicely by Santos and kicked back. Still WestConn's ball. Throw in goes pretty much nowhere. There's a thicket of legs over there on the sideline fighting for that. Jer goes in there mixing it up. And Areno gets through. But the pass is going to squirt over the goal line and... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Alashkar's got it. He didn't let it be a goalie ball. He wanted to go right away. 11-11 to go, and UMass Boston looking like they got a little bit more urgency, a little bit more pep in their step here. They've only got so much time left. They've only got so many runs they can mount against a team like WestConn that is not liable to leave the door open. UMass Boston has been the best defensive team in the conference this season. The statistics will bear that out. But WestConn has only allowed about a goal per game, just a touch less than a goal per game, third best in the conference. Of course, there's always the possibility that they're going to put another goal on the board. They've been increasingly aggressive in the last 5 minutes. As the ball splashed out of bounds over by the 40-yard line, it's going to be UMass Boston's throw-in. Beacons have got to find an opening somewhere. Euron Texera will go to the bench. Back into the game comes Denilson Gonçalves. Throw in now. Barboza. Across the field now, it's John Santos. Throw in on the side for WestConn. So we move under 10 minutes left. Oh, and taking a shot and going down is some UMass Boston player. We can't exactly tell who it is from here. Oh, and Kent Enoreno is beckoning to the UMass Boston bench to tell someone to come take a look at. It's not Jericho, it's not Suvak. It's tough to tell. They're surrounded right now, and we can't really get a good look. Appears to have been Leo Herrera. Clock has stopped at 9:40. UMass Boston quickly breaks out of the huddle. WestConn's not entirely set yet. And now Estavo Gomes, and they'll play against the set defense. UMass Boston has not had the best offensive second half here. They've had 7 shots, 3 of them on goal. None of them gone down, and some of them of better quality than others, and they've done all this with a man advantage for most of the time they've been out there. With Lucas Araujo having gone to the bench after a second yellow card. I don't want to say they've been content to play this one even, but they have somewhat nonchalantly played it even. They're going to have to get increasingly aggressive as this one goes on if they want a chance here. There's a lob over the top to Lorien, a critical defensive play there. And Melson Barboza stopping what would have been a breakaway. Lorenzo Loria was onside and had the step on them. Leo Herrera now leaves it off for Logan Erickson Potter. Jericho into the middle. There's a chance, and there's the equalizer! And who else? Nilton DeAndrade with his LEC best 17th of the year. The fans in the stands erupt. There is the energy. There is the finish they've been looking for. And Nilton DeAndrade, after a half spent trying to set up his teammates for the best options possible, puts the equalizer in himself. And now we got ourselves a game. 8 minutes left in regulation. Regulation being the sort of word that broadcasters only use when the game is tied late. And it's always fun. It means we're going to enjoy ourselves for the rest of the way. John Santos now. Falling down near the ball is looking to the referee for the plea is Diego Guichol. The ball's ejected the other way here. It's going to come all the way towards Szabo. Nilton DeAndrade. Unbelievable stuff. He is putting the finishing, or not quite the finishing touches, but he's getting there in what has been one of the best games a UMass Boston striker, or one of the best seasons, excuse me, that a UMass Boston striker has ever had. He's now at 42 points on the year. That puts him third all-time as he passes Okane Williamson and Jose Chavez. He's got 17 goals, which puts him into a third-place tie with Mohamed Kanawi. There are only a handful of players in front of Nilton DeAndrade at this point, and they're all among the better players this program has seen. Whistle finally blows. There was a call that WestConn wanted that would have resulted in a penalty kick had it been whistled. But the referee not blowing the whistle. 6:16 to go. We're all even at 2-2. Nilton DeAndrade punching home the equalizer on the rush. Gonsalves. Ball caroms off. Official was in his way a little bit. Not sure if he could have gotten to it anyway. And now here is Barboza. WestConn, even now that the game is equalized, content to let UMass Boston have their way in their half of the field, pass it back and forth, and have opted to defend their half and play the rush when the opportunity presents itself. Now to the far side. It's Logan Potter. Slides that one in. Loose ball, who wants it? It's WestConn ejecting it back. And Qasim El-Ashkar coming way up, but ultimately it's Barboza fielding it. Oh, and there's a deep ball. Can Potter find it? No, it's ejected out over the side. It's going to be a throw in here from the side. UMass Boston's going to treat it kind of like a corner kick. Big running start for the thrower. Going to pack the box, and they go short, headed up into the air. Ball's still loose, and it's ejected out. Someone took a shot there, and it's Kent Enarino, who honestly, I don't know, someone buy this man a pizza after this game. He's just taken an absolute bludgeoning. Errant feet. Balls kicked at close range. Rampaging shoulders. He's beaten and bruised, and still he is contributing. The leading goal scorer on the team in the absence of Franz Muhai. Deeper than usual goal kick even for this game, and even for Szabo. Ball straight up. Gonzalez fighting for it. They both missed the header. Come flying in. Oh, Gonzalez took a hit to the head. An offside call on DeAndrade, and good to see Denilson Gonzalez getting up because he went up for a header and he caught what appeared to be a shoulder right to the forehead. No intent there, but man, that's got to hurt. He looks okay for the moment. Thank goodness for it. Had a couple of players take some really scary-looking unintentional hits, and most of them have gotten up and resumed play okay. DeAndrade now. Oh, and a great poke job there. Some birds flying over. Oh, it's a nice triangle formation. But a brilliant defensive play there kept Nilson DeAndrade from notching his second straight goal. UMass Boston, just a few minutes away from their last goal. Lightning in a bottle! UMass Boston takes the lead! What a strike! On the header! It's John Santos putting the Beacons in front. Unbelievable stuff. And now, their first lead of the game, the Beacons trying to hold on and move into first place here in the penultimate week of the season. It's going their way. Down near the far corner is Leo Herrera, I believe, with 2:44 remaining. What a game this turns out to be. First goal, in a lot of ways, against the run of play from Nilton DeAndrade on the breakout. And then John Santos finding room on the far post and using his head puts the Beacons in front. The score sheet has yet to update, yet to announce who notched the assist on that goal. Downside of it being dark now is it's tough to tell who's taking the corner kicks on the far side of the field from where we are. We're situated at right where the camera is. On a direct kick taken by the goalie here, if that one's ever lobbed. And that's the first time I was convinced that Szabo was trying to score. If he ties this on a goalie goal, I mean, even if you're a UMass Boston fan, that's got to be worth seeing. Elashkar picking out his targets, and it's Guichol. WestConn is raising complaints. They're trying to complaining it was their ball, perhaps, complaining that there were substitutions going on. It's unclear what the complaint is here. But they'll send the ball back to Qasim Elashkar. There's 2 minutes, 5 seconds to go. And WestConn, all of a sudden, in the awkward position of having to be the aggressive team down on player. It works sporadically in hockey. In soccer, it's a little bit trickier. Long kick there. Gonçalves tries to head it ahead. And WestConn will take it. The clock didn't start right away. Not entirely sure if that was an error or if that was a deliberate attempt to even things out after starting the clock on Qasim Elashkar's false start. But one way or the other, 1:45 to go. Guichol ejects it down toward the other end. Fielding it quickly with his hands and getting it back to the ground is Szabo. Gonçalves coming over to pressure, and Szabo launches deep. Santos now. Up ahead to Vangel Jergo. To DeAndrade. In open space. What's Nilton going to do? Crosses over toward the middle. Feeds the far side, and it's chipped over the goal there. Shanked well high by the man coming down the left wing. Would appear to be Herrera. Ball comes in. It's headed back. A minute to go. Last chance for Western Connecticut State. Ball's punted back. George Cortez giving chase. Szabo up. Taking it in front of Guichol is Daniel Villalba. UMass Boston, it's chipped toward the side. And Areno can't get through a couple of defenders. A fierce fight for the ball. What's the call going to be? It's a foul on UMass ball and a yellow card. A yellow card on what would appear to be Estavo Gomes. And a huge call with 28 seconds to play. Not sure if it was yellow card worthy contact or if the yellow card was given for unsportsmanlike conduct, complaining after the call. But this one is big. And Kent Enarino, with a goal in this game already, is going to take a free kick from just outside the box with 28 seconds to play. Enarino, third in the conference in goals scored. He's the guy you want taking this if you're WestConn. There's chaos in the middle here. Official trying to clear things up, settle everyone down. The goalie is in the box here. Szabo is the net is completely empty. And Areno goes in. It's headed up. Ball is loose. And Areno already screaming for the ball. He stumbles here on the sideline. Clock is stopped at 15 seconds. The WestConn goalie, Daniel Szabo, you can see him 0-0. He's actually about at the 30-yard line, just out of camera frame. He's right over by the bench. You can get a look at him waltzing toward the 40 there. It's not entirely clear. Players milling about here. Not sure what the call is. Is the official conferring with the line ref to make sure they've got this one right. 15 seconds to go. And Arena wondering what's going on, maybe asking for more time on the clock, maybe clarification on the call. But it's going to be George Cortez on the throw in, 15 seconds to go. Tries to fire. It looked like it slipped out of his hand. And Jergo up ahead, it's DeAndrade. He's got 7 seconds to go in an empty net. For good measure, 18th goal of the season for Nilton DeAndrade. What a game! Second of the game for DeAndrade, 18th on the year, pulls him into a tie for second place all-time with Okane Williamson. One more and he has sole possession of second place. He's etched his name into the record books and into the memories of all the fans who have watched this season. Then we'll not soon forget the skills, the savvy, the athletic ability that Nilton DeAndrade has brought to the Harbor this season. Akasim Alashkar sprinting back to the goal. So we got 3.5 seconds to go here. Not much time for anything. They're going to take one last desperation heave at the goal. Alashkar tips it over. And an emphatic, essential, dramatic win for the Beacons here. 4-2 over Western Connecticut State. The Beacons take first place with a week to go in the regular season. And they do it behind a pair of goals from their lead striker, Nilton DeAndrade, and the game winner on the header from John Santos. Unbelievable stuff all around. WestConn looked to be in control of this game for large swaths. They went into the half up 2-1 up until the 82nd minute. UMass Boston had never had a lead. And yet here we are. 3 goals in the final 10 minutes of play, including an empty netter from DeAndrade to put the cherry on top, to put the lime on the edge of the glass, and send these fans home as happy as can be. Before we say goodbye, we got a little bit left for you. Just going to go over some of the final stats from this one. Going to just look first at the shots on goal. UMass Boston coming through with 4 shots on goal in the second half to Western Connecticut's 1. WestConn playing increasingly defensively after they lost a player to a red card. After that, you got to look at the corner kicks too. It helped them keep the pressure on. 5 corner kicks to 2. A lot of it coming during the second half. The yellow cards, more of them than there have been in games past. Total of 4 on the Western Connecticut side and 2 on the UMass Boston side. It was an aggressive game. It was a physical game. We lost a couple of players in the first few minutes. Got to hope J.J. Devine on the UMass Boston side and Franz Muhai on the WestConn side are doing okay, and that they'll be back for what has proven to be a very exciting stretch run. And before we sign off, want to just give a quick couple of thank yous. First off to Dave Wahlberg. He was running score and stats for this game, but for everything he does for this program. And to the two awesome people up here with me in the booth. That would be Tam Landry and Julie Fontaine over here with me, making sure that the camera and the production is working as planned, and pretty much making sure we stay on the air in something resembling a competent fashion. And thank you so very much for watching it with us. This was an awesome game to cover. UMass Boston moving into first place after a 4-2 win over Western Connecticut. One last time from James Cotter Field, the score 4-2, UMass Boston over WestConn. My name is Milton Posner saying thank you so much for listening, and on behalf of everyone here at UMass Boston Athletics, have a lovely evening. Stay tuned for the rest of this season.